Hello, everyone. Welcome to the next episode of the More Magic Book Club podcast. Today, we are back to our book club part of this podcast, and we are actually going to be talking about Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V. Schwab. Schwab is one of my favorite authors. I know you've read Addie LaRue. Have you read any of her other books?
Nope. I read The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue based off of your recommendation, and I loved it. And now just finished Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil, also on your recommendation. I think, Demi, for you, V.E. Schwab is to Demi Utley as Brandon Sanderson is to me.
Yeah, I would say that's true. I've read almost all of her books. And it's funny because these two, yeah, Addie LaRue and then this book, I would say are like they're all of her books are very different. So this one, but this is most similar to Addie LaRue, I would say.
Yeah,
Um,
I definitely noticed that. Like they have both eternal elements, like
yeah,
doomed immortality almost, which I thought was really interesting.
yeah. Well, and the language itself is also very poetic in both books, which we'll get into. So for anyone who has not read Schwab, this is, or even if you have, this one, I like to think of this as like her sort of like gothic novel because it has all of those elements. And when I read it, I just wanted to be back in like an English literature course where we could just talk about all of the themes and everything that it brings up because this is just like so perfect for that. So Gothic literature, if you search it, it says it's a genre characterized by a mood of mystery, horror, and suspense, blending elements of romance, terror, and the supernatural. And it often features settings like isolated, decaying castles or mansions, and its themes frequently explore the darker aspects of the human psyche. Gothic literature often embraces ideas that are irrational, terrifying, and transgressive. So when I think of Gothic literature, when we studied it in school, it was something like Dracula, like vampires are very popular with Gothic literature because they allow you to kind of explore different themes of being human while still telling a story. Anyway, we don't have to make this like a lecture, but
Yeah.
I did want to just say that because I feel like this book, when I was reading it, it felt like it bridged like literary fiction and fantasy to me. I don't know if you had that experience when you were reading it.
I mean, in the sense that the prose, I think, was very literary. Well, I'm
Mhm.
curious, Demi, would you say that Frankenstein is a Gothic novel?
Yeah, I would say that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's interesting because, Lottie, one of the main character, brings up Frankenstein, I think, a couple of times. And I
Oh,
think that was on purpose. So,
yeah, that's true. Yeah, well, and in this book, I feel like there are several scenes set in these huge castle-like places, sometimes literal castles, and other times the place in Italy, I don't remember if that was a castle or if that was just like a fancy old house. But it had kind of that like creepy feel to me too, which we could
yeah.
talk about this more in detail when we get into the themes. But yeah, I just really liked it. So I just wanted to kind of pepper that in from the beginning because I think this is, having read a lot of her work, this is it just feels like it's speaking to something different than, say, like Vicious or some of her other books, which you should also read, which are great. Okay, so let's talk about the magic. So I thought it was really interesting how her vampires are definitely different than a lot of the vampires that we've seen in kind of like recent media. I would say in the past like decade or two. Because for one thing, they're actually terrifying vampires who you would not want to run into in an alley. Not like Twilight or A Discovery of Witches or those where there's like vegetarian vampires and like feeding off of animals and stuff like that. What did you think about them?
Yeah, utterly terrifying, like just absolute horror. Usually I'll judge like a setting on based on how badly I want to live in that world. And world is a big fat no-no. Like, please don't put me into this place. I was thinking about it even scientifically, like if they are like bottomless feeders, how is there enough humans to satiate them? Just
Yeah.
my goodness, like the murder rates must be through the roof in that world. I was just wondering about that.
Yeah, I think that's like a really good question. So I did see V. Schwab came to Portland when the book came out, so I saw her speak. And what I thought was really interesting is that she talked a lot about how she wanted to have vampires where their humanity like decayed over time. So that was kind of my interpretation of it is like they wouldn't just consume the whole world because eventually they would go mad and
Mm.
self-destruct, which we saw that with a few of them, like the I'm blanking on their names, but it was when
Hector and Renata.
yeah, they like get
Yeah.
burned like at the church.
Yeah, they go crazy. They lose their damn minds and like try to kill a whole village in a church. And then, of course, you can't. That's just absolute chaos. And so the rule of like kill everyone who knows obviously can't be, fulfilled. And so they end up getting caught and getting burned and buried alive, I think, at the same time.
Yeah, it was like intense.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was definitely a pretty dark book. I
Not cozy fantasy.
no, and not romance either. I don't know if it was marketed as that, but it's definitely pretty gruesome. And I do appreciate because I feel like there were some scenes that were pretty descriptive, but it didn't feel like it was gratuitous. It felt like it was really to just show the horrors of what they were doing. And it didn't linger for too long. But one thing that I really liked about the vampires in this book is that when they would actually feed off of someone, their hearts started beating again. And so to me, it was like almost like they were craving, well, I mean, that's how it was written, that they were craving the sensation of being alive again. And that's why they were, you know, so obsessed and so hungry and had so much desire to go and find their next victim. Yeah, it just made this book made me think a lot because when I was thinking about that, I was like, it does in a way make me appreciate just like my heartbeat. Like reading this literally just makes me appreciate my heart beating, which is not something that I think about too often. And now I think about it a little bit more since reading it.
Yeah. I think something else that was interesting was this idea that vampirism makes you just more of yourself. And I
Mm,
think that's really interesting in the some of the characters that we see, how there's these elements, especially with Maria slash Sabine, who is a fascinating character that I'm excited to talk about.
yeah.
There were elements of who she was from the very beginning, and it just became more and more prominent as the years went by until her humanity kind of like got stripped away until that was all that was left, which was her insatiable hunger that she had even before she was a vampire. So I think that's a really interesting idea is becoming more of yourself too.
Hmm. Yeah, should we do you want to go ahead and talk about the characters a bit?
Yeah. Okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
So,
So, well, let's just start with Maria and Sabina. I mean, even like at the like most basic level, it's kind of crazy that she just takes the name of the person that she kills.
my
Like
goodness.
to me, it's obviously.
My official, literary conclusion about Maria Sabine, if I were to be super academic about it, is that she is bona fide cray cray. I have found myself, Demi, using a lot of my true crime knowledge from when I was like a psych major in college to understand this girl because she is in some ways a basic serial killer. She even like she collects the baubles. She collects something on her neck from every person she kills. That is a traditional serial killer thing to do. And she starts out as a disorganized serial killer, right? And that's when she goes like, parading around with Hector and Renata. And then Mateo, thinking he's doing something good, turns her into an organized serial killer, which is so much more dangerous than disorganized, because disorganized are easier to find and kill because they are more likely to make mistakes, like Hector did, right?
Mhm.
But when you're organized and you take your time, those serial killers are much harder to find. Again, this is all from my true crime days when I was like really into that stuff and I would read true crime novels about, like behavioral therapists, like going into the mind of a serial killer. That is where I was a lot of the time. The way I analyzed her was from that lens. But yeah, she was just she was a serial killer. Maria was so interesting to me because she's kind of in some ways complex because when she was in a position of being oppressed, I actually found a lot of her qualities really admirable. The way she didn't back down, like there was a society that was trying to make her submit and she like had no fear whatsoever. Like nothing made her back down. She knew how to play the game. A scene I loved is where the mom tries to harass her and is like, these, something about ginger hair, basically insulting her. And she's like, well, then I just won't let you bathe my child. Like, just no care. But the seeds of who she was from day one. I did think it was so weird the way she manipulated the Viscount into marrying her. But at the same time, because I don't know who this woman is yet, at the time when she manipulated him, I was like, well, maybe it's not like the best thing to do, manipulate someone into marrying you, but this is a woman born in the 1500s who has to do what she has to do to get ahead in life. Like, so I was willing to make that excuse for her. But then there comes a point, and that point came really, really fast. I would say for me, that point even came before she was even a vampire. Like I disliked her almost pretty quickly, which I'm really proud of myself. I'm like, hey, I'm a good judge of character because I don't think I like this girl. But there comes a point where you're like, this girl seems wrong. Like there's something off about her. She's I think it was the point when they said when she was getting married to the Viscount, she was always hungry. Like even when there was no famine and everybody's stomachs were well fed, she would eat all the cherries and suck on the pits until every last drop was. I mean, that's a lot of foreshadowing.
Yeah.
And it just there was like something about her that just I was like, there's something off about this girl. What do you think?
Yeah, the I forgot about the cherry pits because that's like I don't know, I don't do that. I don't know if that's something that people do, but that was very specific to me where like when I was reading it because it can like really hurt your teeth. So it was like almost like she didn't have this fear of danger like doing that because if you like I don't know, you could like choke and people die on like pits of things and stuff like that. So I thought that was interesting, but yeah, I feel like I liked her. I was like I was ready for her to like get power and like to see her use it. I wanted in a good way. And so when she kills the original Sabine, I I had a moment when I was reading the book where I was just like, I don't know, I couldn't decide. It took me a while to decide how I felt about her because I like on the one hand I understood, but then on the other hand I was like she was making all of these decisions that were just so just unethical and immoral to me.
Heartless?
Yeah, and like but then it's like, well, she's a vampire, so it's like I don't know. I thought that it just made me think about like what you were just saying about how like the qualities in her were admirable kind of when she was oppressed, and then the minute she becomes the predator and she's the one in power, it's like these are bad qualities. So it made me think a lot about just like power dynamics and like at what point do you have so much power that what we used to value in a person now we don't value in the person, and just kind of thinking about that and I don't know, just ruminating on that, which is not about Sabine specifically, but yeah, I thought she like her whole story just really made me think about that a lot and just our society in general. She was terrifying, and I wanted her to be saved. Like at the end, I get we don't have a spot in our note for the end, but I'm gonna just go there real fast. So at the end, when Charlotte says, "Oh, like there's a way for you to like if you kill her, like you can become human again." I wanted that so badly to be true.
Me
And
too.
it's interesting because I like talked to other people and read reviews, and a lot of people were like, well, obviously that wasn't true. It was just like another
Yeah.
example of her like being manipulative and her losing her humanity. But I was like, no, there has to be because we talked about hope so much when we talk about books, and I just like I don't know what that says about me as a person where I just can't accept that there's like no like redemption, you know?
I wanted it also of Demi, you're not alone. I was like, I knew it was a lie because Maria killed Sabine and Maria did not become human. So I knew it was a lie.
Yeah,
But I
that's
was
what I
like,
thought.
maybe there's some kind of law that you couldn't, that we haven't quite understood. Like I was like hoping until the very
Yeah.
end that until Lottie came with the knife to kill Alice. I was hoping out hope that she wasn't lying.
Yeah, I was like, well, maybe it's because Sabine didn't want to be human. Like, so that I was like coming with up with all of these like stories in my brain, like, oh, she wanted to be a vampire, so that's why she didn't change back. But like,
Okay, hold
Alice
on.
wants to be human.
Okay, I think we might have misunderstood that ending differently. I thought Alice was going to be human again if she kills Sabine, since
No,
Sabine
no,
was her
yeah, that's what
maker.
I'm saying. So
Oh,
I'm
okay.
saying when Sabine slash Maria killed the original Sabine, too many things there. Because you were like, well, I knew that wasn't true because she would have become human. And so I was like, well, maybe there's a loophole where it will work for Alice because she wants to be human.
Oh, yes, yes. Okay, that makes
Yeah.
sense. Something that I do think was interesting about Maria slash Sabine is that she can have attachments and she shows attachments through the story. It's just a matter of people come second, and actually people are not even second. It's like Maria is one, two, and three on her
Yeah.
list of priorities, but she shows attachments. Like she falls in love with Isabella. If only they could have run away together and we could have saved millions of people or however many people from being killed. She shows attachment to Matteo and his husband or his lover.
Hmm.
Of course, she finds him disgusting at the end for his grief. She finds the very concept of grief disgusting and confusing, which again I think speaks to her. And she, of course, shows attachment to Lottie, who is one of the main characters. I think it's interesting that right when she has that full attachment to someone, we see the abusive qualities of Sabine, and I think very classic abusive nature. I think was shown in her personality, and so I thought it's just really, yeah, very complex evil character. I think you were absolutely right on the money when you said horrifying. Like this is a woman, like when that scene where she held, I forgot her name, the Italian woman, Lottie's like next girlfriend.
Yes.
That
Oh yeah.
scene, oh my goodness. Like I knew she was dead the moment she showed up. We knew she was gonna die even before. Who are we kidding? But like it was
I
just
still held on hope. I was like, no.
yeah, that was just such a terrifying scene. Like the absolute helplessness as the reader, like watching that happen. And of course, we're experiencing the helplessness of Lottie.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because yeah, Sabine slash Maria had, I think on the like in the very beginning, was she described as like too wild? I feel like that was the description of her even when she was like a kid.
I think they did, and
Yeah.
at the moment, I thought it was just because she's in 1500s Spain. I
Yeah.
didn't think it was like I just thought she was a normal woman who just refuses to back down and refuses to submit, not an actual wild person who is okay with killing hundreds of thousands of people if she's free. But yes, the seeds were there from the very beginning.
Yeah, I'm curious your thoughts because I think for me, when she becomes a vampire, I stopped thinking of her, I stopped holding her to the same moral like rules as like a human or something like that. I guess there's like kind of two parts that I was thinking like so like if she's a vampire, can we fault her for using like being a vampire, Like would we fault like a lion for like killing zebras,
Yeah.
for example? But
That is
yeah.
a great question, and I think it is answered in the book. And that is the moment she becomes a vampire, she kills Sabine, and
Hmm.
we learn pretty quickly that that is an extremely taboo, amoral thing in the vampire world.
Oh yeah, you're
Yeah.
right.
To
Yeah.
the point that she never tells any of her vampire friends because she knows it'll probably get her killed because it was so like she's evil even for vampires, she's evil.
That's
And
true.
I also want to point out that they're like vampires were capable of ethical thought, at least before they decay. I can't remember her name, Antonia. Her name was Antonia. Um, remember like when Lottie ran away to like in the 1920s, like to a speakeasy or something like that
Yeah.
in London. Antonia was a vampire and she said, she was basically explaining how there's no such thing as an ethical vampire or a good vampire. Even if you try to be like a Dexter type vampire where you only kill the bad people who deserve it. And Antonia says it's because no one has the right to play God. And so
Hmm.
they are capable of understanding like the ethical rules of what is good and true, but also at the same time they're very hungry. So I think like I can hold those two things in tension. I still kind of think, well, that means maybe this is a good time to pause. If someone turned you into a vampire in this type of vampire, what would you do?
Would just die. I like having to like kill someone. I mean, okay, well, I guess like because I have read other books today and we're in the current times, it's like I guess go to a blood bank and like use that instead. But it's like you didn't have to have it, or like you could get by on very little blood. That's was it Mateo who no, it was
Yes.
someone else. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's like, yeah, I feel like I don't know. I've never had that kind of like intense hunger like that to where I would be willing to hurt someone else. So if the assumption is that it like makes you more of yourself, then maybe I would somehow become more principled. I don't know. So yeah,
See,
what do you
yeah.
think? Well,
That's that's interesting. So there's two sides of me. There's two wolves, as they say. One wolf would just stick myself through the heart through a stake because I don't want to take life. The other
Mm.
part of me would go on a crusade against the global human trafficking ring and the global slavery ring and just basically like human trafficking and slavery would be a thing of the past. They'd be like, remember when that existed? But some reason every time someone tries to set something up, they just disappear with their blood all gone. Like they're found years later. So I don't know which one of them I would be. I'd be one of them. Maybe, I don't know. But so that when Antonia, that's why I was actually really interested in V.E. Schwab's message that she had through Antonia, which is that no one has the right to play God. I feel like she's kind of talking to people like me, who's like,
Yeah.
oh, I would never kill, like a person who didn't deserve it. But who
Mhm.
am I to like what right do I have to decide who lives, who dies? So
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty. It was a pretty good. I was really affected by that line because it kind of like
That
got me.
that really got me too. So yeah, maybe we talk about Charlotte slash Lottie a little bit because I feel like Charlotte is the one that just yeah, it was the hardest one for me to like reckon with because of that, because I definitely identified with her the most. Like she was like the reader, like educated and like
Like heart driven.
yes, exactly. Actually, I think that V. Schwab had said, I think, yeah, Charlotte was supposed to be her heart, or Alice her head, I think, and then Sabine her hunger, maybe. So that yeah, that makes sense. So when I was talking to people about this, I was like, well, but she's being ethical, and that was the argument of, well, even she thought she was being ethical, but then like, was she being ethical when she knew Sabine was started killing all of her lovers, and she continued to take lovers, and she knew, with Alice that this was going to happen, and continued to do this. And I was like, yeah, it's almost like she, and also because she didn't she only kill men, I think.
Hmm.
Yeah, which is, I mean, there are a lot of not great men in the world, but there are also a lot of not great women in the world, and like just like not great people. But so then it's like, yeah, you're like becoming God. And um I don't know, hers was hard because I feel like you could definitely justify it, but then it's like you are being like, okay, well, I get to decide what's bad and what's not. I create that definition.
Yeah. I would almost say that Lottie represents a plot twist to me in this book because the whole time we're hearing Lottie's perspective through Lottie's own words as she's telling the story to Alice.
Mm,
And so it's an opportunity to make herself really good, look really good and really virtuous. And I almost believed her. There were
yeah.
things that happened that in while she's telling the story that I'm like, that doesn't quite make sense, but what, it's her story. Like, what do I know? And it isn't until the very end when you really see how self-absorbed she is and she's about to kill Alice that you realize that like all of the little things that were in my head come to the top and you realize that no, you were right all along. So for example, she kept saying the woman I fell in love doesn't exist anymore. Like her humanity fell away after I was with her for 200 years. Excuse me, this woman has been collecting baubles of people's precious items that she has been murdering before you. Okay, she
Yeah.
killed
Hundreds of
Sabine.
years.
Yes, like she has been a serial killer. You just didn't like it when you started to get abused. And you like remember that she brought her this guy who did nothing wrong. He just had a crush on the wrong girl. And she brought her to Charlotte and Charlotte killed him. I
Mhm.
at the time was like, no, Charlotte, don't. But like in my head, I made excuses for her, like, oh, she has no choice. But you always have a choice.
Yeah.
And so it really shows that Lottie was willing to make a lot of concessions for Sabine. And a person who makes a concession for a serial killer, we call them enablers, and they are just like they're bad because they allow serial killers to keep on serial killing. Like they are accomplices. So she
Yeah.
was just as culpable as Sabine. She just didn't like it when I guess there was a line that Sabine crossed as according to Lottie from her perspective, because again, she's an unreliable narrator. My guess is that she disliked that she was the one that was being attacked now, that she couldn't, for example, have other vampire friends, that she would
Hmm.
be like, sometimes like harassed and abused. So that was what made her leave, not the murdering and the pillaging.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that's a good point. it is also interesting to think about her back to what you said earlier about becoming the vampire makes you more of like your true self or however you phrased it. And it's almost like she if Sabine was like this wild independent person, Lottie slash Charlotte is the victim. Like she saw herself as like she needed Sabine to show her a way out. For example, she didn't find her own way out. And then throughout their whole relationship, she was like always making these excuses and like would kind of try to put her rules in place, but it was just like, well, I mean, this is how, how she does things, and I don't know. So it just and then like later, like at the point where it's like, you're a vampire. Why are you like you're the one with power and you're letting all of these you're like willingly letting like her kill all of these people. And I get that it's like yeah, like kind of like your crazy stalker ex, but it's also I think that's where it was so interesting because it's like I can like empathize with her if she were just a human woman, but she's the vampire who like has like, super strength and can like do all the has lived for hundreds of years. It's like you have more power. Why aren't you using, your own agency? You're just kind of she does like kind of play the victim a little bit until the end when she's gonna kill Alice, which is like but I mean, I guess yeah, she's like lost her humanity. I so it was interesting because when I was speaking with some other people about this, um, I was like, oh, she didn't lose her humanity. She was always ethical. She was like focusing on like wrong people. And they're like, no, I think that she lost hers faster. Like, because she was able to like plays it away, but because she was like using logic and it wasn't as like overtly evil as Sabine, it felt like she still had humanity when really she was just good at acting like she was still human.
Yeah, through her perspective, I would have almost completely fallen for Lottie's lies. If it was just Lottie's perspective, like you, Demi, I totally like she was the one I resonated with the most because she was the only one that actually showed an ounce of guilt, like any form of guilt whatsoever for killing people, where everyone else is like, "Ooh, I'm a vampire now. Let's get to hunting." So I liked her a lot. And the thing is Lottie almost has main character syndrome, because the way she presents herself when she's telling her narrative is she's a woman who has heart, and that's what makes her different. And her mom told her that she is the kind of person that can bloom in any soil. So like she's presenting herself as the heroine, and I really thought, like I believed her, I took her at her word. I really thought that she was going to be the one to save the day. It actually isn't until I see Alice's perspective. Lottie says something that I think is like pretty innocuous, but Alice is like, "Oh my God, I can't believe these two witches." I won't say the B word since this is a clean podcast, but she's like, "They're both fighting over me as if I'm a piece in their game. Like I mean nothing to them. I am not a I have no inherent value of being a human." And it goes so far, and you see that going further and further with Lottie until Lottie's about to kill Alice after killing Sabine. There
Mm-hmm.
is a tragic piece, though, I will say that I felt so bad for Lottie, is that her entire vampire existence was under the thumb of this crazy woman. And the
Mm-hmm.
moment she is freed from this crazy woman is the moment she dies.
I
And that's
know.
sad.
It was heartbreaking to me because again, I wanted her to redeem herself. It's like, oh, Sabine's gone, now you can be good. But it's like, no, she has lost all of her humanity. She's not good anymore. Like she has so much power and so much yeah, just like disregard for human life. Like she even if she continued to live, like I don't think that she would be ethical. I feel like she would still end up in that kind of gray area where she could convince herself that she was being good, but she's not.
It's an interesting like foil between Sabine and Charlotte because Charlotte, it's almost like performative virtuosity. Like
Hmm.
I live by these rules,
Yeah,
but not really. And then Sabina's just like, I'm a feral rose and I could do what I want because I am the
yeah,
king of the world. And so it's just interesting how they two both navigate immortality.
yeah, yeah. I like it because I mean, thinking of Addie LaRue, which will in case no people haven't read that, we'll try to avoid spoilers, but both of these books span centuries and they both like make me think about what it means to be human. When I finished both of them, that was like what I just like kept thinking about, like what does life mean? Yeah, what to do with like the time that I have and things like that. And in this one, I think it's interesting how they is it the course of 5 centuries? Is it 16 or 1500? It's like a long time. And so you see, yeah, Charlotte, like, it's like hundreds of years, which is almost like so hard to fathom because the book is like not thousands of pages, you know? Um, and our lives are so short. Like, it's like, just to be alive for that long and see people come and go, I feel like by its very nature, you kind of lose your humanity because you've seen so many people live their full lives like beginning to end and you're still there. So can you even still be like have humanity in you when you kind of just see it as this fleeting thing?
I think, do you think immortality can be nothing but a curse?
That's a good question. I feel like we should almost do an episode just on books with immortality and different ways that it's like coupled with. For me personally, I don't know how you feel. If you had the chance to live forever, would you do it?
Hell no.
Same. Yeah. I don't want to live forever. So it's really hard for me to understand the people who do want to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would love to just go, if someone could just travel the future for me and tell me everything that happens for the next 1,000 or 2,000 years, that'd be cool. But I don't need to see it. I just want to know about it. Like I want to know. I'm hungry for knowledge. And then same thing, if I could just, every Saturday go in a time machine and travel to the past 1 century every Saturday or something, just to see, that I would do in a heartbeat. But to actually trudge through life forever and ever and ever with no end in sight, dear Lord, that's a curse.
Yeah. I would definitely time travel. But yeah, having to like just live and see people like so many people die and stuff. Oh yeah, I could not do it. I think that I mean truly thinking about it, it's like well you can kind of start to understand how it like in books like this where there are characters who live for so long, like why they start to not be human because just by nature of seeing everything that has happened since like the 1500s to now, because they were yeah were they in England during World War II and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like some just really intense periods in human history. But okay,
Yeah.
wait. We've talked about Marie and Sabine and Charlotte. Should we talk about Alice?
Yes. So you said she represents the mind. I like that. That makes a lot of sense. I didn't think about it when I was reading. What are your thoughts on Alice?
Yeah, I so originally I'd say for the first half of the book, I liked her scenes a lot because I was like I liked the experience of someone modern day being turned into a vampire and seeing how that worked. And I was just so sad for her. And I really wanted her to be able to stop it, to like find the answer, you know? So I was into that quest with her. But then, yeah, like I think there was like a moment where she killed a guy in the garage. Was that the first?
Second guy. It was
Yeah.
very sad.
Yeah. And like those moments, oh yeah, because the first one was like against a tree or something.
He was going to sexually assault her, the first guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, which like, I mean, definitely do not support that. But also killing someone is an intense response. So that's where I was already having kind of that, is this like, an ethical decision or is this just giving into the hunger and like becoming the monster yourself? Which I mean, she did literally become a monster. So yeah, I thought that it was interesting because, and then in the end, when she kills Sabine and Lottie. And then yeah, it like has her going and like living her life. I was just like, but she can't just graduate university and live this life. Like she's a monster. She's killed people. I don't know. It's interesting. I didn't give her as much, I guess, grace, like or like I didn't give her as many chances to like be like, oh, she's still figuring it out. Like she's still human. She's being ethical. And maybe it's because we had gone through the journey of the other two already at that point. But by the end, I was definitely like, she's already gone. She's like so far gone. Did you have that reaction, or do you still have hope for her?
That's an interesting perspective. I think I have hope for her. In the long run, no, I think she's doomed like all other vampires are doomed. But I think she could live at least a good 50 years. And the reason why is because of Caddy, her sister.
Oh yeah.
I think her whole life was shaped by her. I felt like her story was the most tragic background.
Yeah.
Sabine, her background was really tragic, but it was also kind of self-inflicted. Just want to take a pause and say always go for the humble village farmer over the bratty viscount.
Yeah.
Right, like so like yeah, so like she kind of self-inflicted it because she was so ambitious that she was like, power at any cost. Also, quick side note, Sabine kind of reminds me of a evil Alexander Hamilton because she
Hmm.
can never be satisfied. So, like, if Hamilton were turned into a vampire, I bet he would have had a similar story as Sabine. But, like, what was I saying? Oh, Alice, back to Alice. So, her whole background was shaped by Caddy and what happened to her. And it was just so tragic, beyond tragic, her upbringing. And Caddy says, you only have what it's such a shame that we only have one life to live. And so I feel like V.E. Schwab was kind of trying to paint a picture of hope that Alice has multiple lives to live. And I'm hoping that what happened to Caddy will anchor Alice for at least, like I said, at least 50 to 100 years. And then I think eventually she'll be doomed just like everyone else. But that's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping that, like, oh my God, her poor father, like he has gone through so much loss. I was like, Alice, you can't let him down. Like just be there for him. Tell him you're a vampire, you know? Um like eventually when you don't age, you
Just
could let
casually.
yeah, just let him know gently. But like please do not abandon your family. Like they've been through so much already. So that was kind of how I saw Alice. And but she did make me nervous the way she killed that man just for wanting to have sex with her. It wasn't really implied like that he was a predator. It just like it didn't like it was very blurry, and I think it's to your point, which is like no one can play God. That being said, I also think that this book plays to a female fantasy element. Like there's a element of female fantasy in here, which is, of course, any woman listening to this knows that we go through the world scared, because we feel like prey, right? Especially when you're at night alone. There is nothing scarier for a woman than being outside in the evening alone. And so this story is what happens when that is turned on its head and you are a woman walking alone and you are the predator. And so there's that element of fulfillment that every woman wants. Like I know I want it, which is like I don't want to be prey. I don't necessarily need to be predator, but I would love to just walk down the street and not be afraid. Like what is that like? And so I think like there's a turning of its head on like a subversion of that. But to like back to that theme of when you become the predator, is it worth it? What do you become? Like, is it worth being a predator? Is power good at all?
Yeah. I feel like that was kind of my takeaway almost of this power imbalance is never good. Like whoever's on top is the monster because you're
Yeah.
by definition you're on top um and you have the more power and the ability to play God and decide if someone lives or not, or like I mean in the case of like literal life, like if you're gonna assault someone on the street. um yeah, so it's almost like when I was reading this I was like it's never good, power is never good, living forever is also never good.
Yeah. Insatiable hunger, also never good.
Yeah, which we should tell to some of the people in power who are trying to live forever. Like, hey, read
Yeah.
this book.
And
Like,
who are insatiably hungry.
yes, yeah. Speed lots of themes here.
Yeah.
Yeah, but for Alice, I think you have a good point of with her sister, it's almost so yeah, back to like if she's becoming more of who she is, like it's interesting because she kind of broke off her anxiety and was able to remove almost like the shackles of that. She was able to like, be more confident in the world once she became a vampire. But maybe that can be like her family could be sort of her almost like her guiding light. Like if you still love someone who's human, how could you go and do that? But I mean, I guess we see other characters do that as well. But I don't know. I feel like
Mateo, what did you
yeah.
think of him?
Well, he did kill people though. Yeah.
Yeah, he was an organized serial killer for sure.
Yeah.
But he loved what was his name? Giovanni? What was his
I
name?
think it was Giovanni. That sounds right.
No, Giovanni was actually the second guy who was a crazy person who looked like the first guy.
I thought he gave
Um,
him the same name.
oh, did
Am
he?
I making that up? Um, I was like, maybe I can find it, but this is a super long book. I'm not gonna be able to find
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I guess we could say that like we can't really know what the full vampire experience is like because we see it through the eyes of Sabine and then a trapped person of who also sees the vampire world through Sabine because she's kind of like her mentor and her prisoner or like prison guard. So
Yeah.
like we don't really know what the full world of vampires looks like. I thought it was really interesting when they had that psychic. I thought the coffee shop was really interesting. It's hinted that you could live a life. It's just
Yeah.
that we saw the worst aspect and like the worst people, like of vampiredom. So
Yeah.
I would love to see a sequel or something that's like more normal, like less crazy people, like people who try to live ethically before, of course, again, I think eventually, like a main theme is eventually it decays. But
Hmm.
until that point, they try to live good lives, like Ezra, who I thought was really interesting. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I liked him because he's the one who had the coffee shop, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I really wanted, that's where I was like, I feel like there's hope because he had this like whole community. And so if we think of like Sabine, Alice, and Lottie, they all wanted something. They all felt trapped in their current life. So becoming a vampire was them breaking free. Like I wonder if you're someone who doesn't feel trapped in your life and you become a vampire, like then if you don't have the same insatiable hunger, like you just want to keep living like if you're living a beautiful life, you're like, I just want to keep living a beautiful life and connect with other people. Like maybe that's what those characters were.
Yeah, like Antonia too. Like they seem to have a good enough relationship, and she says like none of us have the right to take away life. Like she has that understanding of herself. So there
Hmm.
are vampires out there who can think critically, other than, oh, so what? They're just food. Like people
Yeah.
are just food. We could just eat them. That pissed me off so much when Sabine said that, by the way. I wanted her dead for so long, but when she said they're just food, I was like, someone please stick this woman. Get her out of this planet.
Yeah, like don't let her come to the year 2025.
Yeah, like she lasted too long on planet Earth. And it's all, I blame Mateo, by the way. It's all his fault.
For like teaching her.
Yeah, teaching her how to be more stealthy with her kills. Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and like you just like fit in more. Yeah, it is interesting because for I forgot her name. Was it Juliana? No, Antonia.
Yeah.
Yeah, so because they were they the ones who they wouldn't kill people. They would like take some blood.
I don't remember that. I know they had a club, but I don't
Yeah.
remember that.
Did that happen in this book, or am I thinking of a different vampire?
It did no, it did happen. It was you know what? I think it was because Lottie, I remember Lottie was really mad that that was possible because she was like
Oh,
if
because
I
she
no, I
lied to
think they
Christina.
served her I think what they did was they served her a cup of blood that
Oh
they
yeah,
got from a tap, but then it never has been answered about where this blood came from to begin with. And
yeah.
Lottie was so mad, or at least indignant, and again, unreliable. This is what she's just telling us. I think it's really interesting when Ezra later offers her a cup of blood, she says no, thank you. So I just think I just want to point that out. But
Mm,
when she's retelling her story, she was saying, "What the hell? Like, if I had known that I could drink blood without killing people, like I would have done it from the beginning. I would have never have killed all those people."
mm-hmm.
And yet she rejects the cup of blood that Ezra offers her later.
Mm-hmm. Because she's already lost her humanity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like because if it was someone like Ezra, for example, well, the backstory I'm creating for him is that he had a beautiful life. If you love life and you love people, then I mean, even if you're like, man, I'm so like thirsty, because I thought that was really interesting where it was like Alice was like, I'm so thirsty, but like water made her nauseous, I think. Yeah, she couldn't drink
Mm.
water. So it was like only blood. Yeah, if I feel like couldn't there be a scenario again because I have to have hope where you like become a vampire and then you still have some of your faculties about you where you're like, okay, well, I need blood. I don't have to kill someone to get it, you know? So maybe there are some living among us.
Yeah. And there's also weirdos that like getting their blood sucked. So just find the weirdos. Like Lottie's second girlfriend. She thought it was almost like it's drugs or something. It's, oh, like, oh, the lightheadedness, like, is a
Yeah.
trip, man. Like that was kind of the
Anemia.
yeah. Anemia is such a trip. So like just find the weirdos, go to those weird clubs where people want to get their blood sucked. I would try very hard. Okay, I don't know. I don't know what I would be. I'm just glad I haven't had the chance. I'm glad that I'm at the bottom totem pole of society. Let's just say that. Because I don't know what I would be if I had power, but I really think that power corrupts. I always think of that Roman emperor. I feel like he might have been the best. It's like a little story. I don't even know if it's true, but it was one of the Roman emperors. Whenever he would walk through crowds, he hired someone to whisper in his ear, "You are only a man. You are only a man." As people
Oh, I've
are
never
like
heard that.
throwing their laurels at him and like their flowers and stuff. I feel like he probably seemed, I don't even know who he is, but he seems like someone who's in power who had it together. But I think you have to be like an exceptional person of character to have power and not lose your goddamn mind.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, what I thought you were going to say when you said the Roman emperors, it's like all the
Oh,
things that women say.
yes. For every one or Roman emperor who hires someone to remind him of humanity, you have a million Neros who play, was it the flute or was it the guitar or something while his city burns, like
Yeah,
some
the
kind of
city
instrument?
bird.
Yeah.
Well, like Caligula, I feel like there were a lot of like weird, just like interesting names.
Yeah. Also blame the lead, of course, but power had something to do with it. The lead in the water systems plus power equals disaster. For us, it'll be microplastics plus power disaster.
That is sadly too true. Okay, so for other characters, oh, yeah, I wanted to talk about the original Sabine because she didn't seem super evil to me. What
No,
were your thoughts on her? Yeah.
my God. You know what she is? Bad judge of character. That's She took pity on a woman that she shouldn't have taken pity on. I'm telling you, I did not like Sabine. Like I did not like her pretty early on, but she was seemed like a nice lady who, was happy to be an like, oh no, traveling apothecary. She
Yeah.
seemed to have it figured out, which is pretending to be a widow, which is cool. I always told myself if I like had been born in those times, I would have been a nun because it's just like the closest to freedom. But I forgot that being a widow is one of those ways that you could like navigate through life back in those days. So I feel like she was a really sweet woman who ran an apothecary and took pity on the wrong woman and paid the ultimate price. Yeah,
Mhm.
how about you?
Yeah, I liked her. I was very sad when she died. I was horrified, and I feel like it happens pretty early, and it makes sense because then Sabine does the new Sabine does 1,000 horrifying things. Um, but yeah, I was like, what? You can just run away together and like be happy and be free, you know? But no, she killed her, and it was very sad. Yeah.
I was expecting her to come back for half of the book because I was like, she's a vampire. I didn't like it took me a while to realize that vampires can suck other vampires dry.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like there was part of me that was like, oh no, that's like not possible. And then she didn't come back and I was like, okay, she's not.
Yeah, I was like, no, she's done for. I realized it when Hector and Renata were talking about the different ways to die, and they said a bite is a bad way to go, but fire is worse. So I
Mm.
that's when I realized like, oh, vampires can bite other vampires.
Okay, so then we had the Viscount and his family.
Yeah. He
Really?
sucked.
Yeah.
I didn't cry tears. Like, I don't think they necessarily deserve to die. She never even made her opinion known to him at all. And not that he would have taken it, because he seemed like a crappy human, but she was the one who manipulated him into marrying her. And yet she hates him from the moment they're married. Again, I hate him too. Like, he's despicable. I don't know. I guess I'm confused because I don't like him necessarily. I think he's despicable. But does he necessarily deserve, like him and his whole family deserve to die? I don't think so. What do you think, Demi?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because like thinking about the themes of power that's so prominent in the book, he was kind of doing what was just expected of that time for that type of family. And I don't like it. But again, does that mean that they needed to die for just being like these like annoying rich people, basically? Like it's interesting because I mean, they were the ones in power and they had the power, and then she becomes a vampire, so then it flips again. So then she becomes even more monstrous. It's like they're bad, and then she has to be worse to kind of destroy them. I don't know. I don't really know how I feel about it because I was rooting for her to be free when I was reading it, but then like if you think of it outside the context of a book, it's like no, we shouldn't just kill our husbands because we want to be free, you know? Yeah.
And she never said a single word to any of them. Like she never made her. discomfort node. I mean, they probably would have been like, "Shut up, you're a woman. What do you know?" But like, at least she would have tried, you know, um,
Yeah.
like
She
try,
could have
like
stayed and like used her power like to become the leader of the family and then like made a difference. But yeah, she didn't.
yeah, which I think the mom did. The mom was obviously a monster-in-law too, but like the mom obviously has a lot of power. Like the son listens to the mom, the husband listens to the mom. The mom's allowed to go outside of the premises on her own. So
Mhm.
like there was some kind of like social ladder that I guess she could have climbed even as a woman.
Mhm.
Um Again, it doesn't seem like worth it to me. I definitely prefer my 2025 life, where women are allowed to be more than just a wife who's allowed to go outside to the markets. But, but like, yeah, I don't think murder is the answer to everything. Call me controversial, but that's just my hot take.
Yeah, I agree. I think that was kind of the theme throughout. I mean, it's a vampire book, so of course that comes up, but definitely pretty much every time it happened, it was like, you didn't have to do that, you know? Like
Yeah.
you could
Come
have,
on, Lottie.
yeah.
Alice just did you a favor. She just freed you. And you're really gonna repay her by murdering her. You guys could have been friends. I was actually hoping, like in my mind, I was like they were gonna run off into the sunset together.
I had that too. I was like, oh, they can like be together and like,
No.
yeah, and
Nope.
yeah.
Nope. Alice caught on pretty quick, I think quicker than you and I did. Like she was hot up on the take really quick. She was like, "Nope, you used me, you suck." So,
Yeah, I don't think I could be that ruthless. I would probably give another chance. And then I would, yeah, that's where, yeah, when it's like, what would you do when you became a vampire? It's like, well, I probably would die pretty quickly.
yeah. We're not cut out for a life of vampirism. First of all, I like the sun, so and you too. So we'd have severe like seasonal affective disorder, but it'd be like immortal seasonal
Oh,
affective
yeah.
disorder. Gosh.
That's just what it is. You're right. That's what it is. It's not that everyone's losing their humanity. It's just that they're all so depressed and so like vitamin D deficient. It's just like,
Yeah. Vitamin D pills could cure vampirism. They just needed to hold out for a couple more years to let the researchers. Oh, that would be really interesting is if you used your immortality to study like the biology of vampires.
well, have you read A Discovery of Witches?
No. Is okay,
It's
all right, interesting. I've stumbled onto something here.
good. You should read it because they do that in
Okay.
that. But what I thought you were going to say is it'd be really interesting to have vampires where they take vitamin D pills to
Oh, yes.
like
Yes.
stay human.
And then all of a sudden the color comes back
Yeah, or
and their
like
hunger for
iron,
meat.
taking
Yeah.
supplements.
Yeah.
Like Dracula. Like we could have just like fixed so many things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll be the sequel.
So we had Alice's backstory. What were your thoughts on that?
So tragic. Oh my goodness. Caddy, like she's such a teenager. She's such a real teenager. I think V.E. Schwab did such a good job of like writing the heartache of teenagehood where it feels so intense for the person going through it, but you as an adult are like, oh my God, just like you can overcome this. Like you just have
Yeah.
to let go and accept. Like, there's a lot of like adult things in my mind about how to overcome trials and tribulations. But when you're a
Yeah.
teenager, it is so hard. It is not near impossible to get past like those heartaches, especially losing your mom at a young age, having another woman come in and having a brother come in. Like it's such hard things for a teenager to go through. And it felt also the most real and the most salient because
Mhm.
like Sabine's life was sad, and I know that not like you manipulating your way to the social hierarchy, but just like being an oppressed woman in an oppressed time happens all the time, happens today, even in different countries. But to
Mhm.
me, like in my life, like what happened to Alice's life it's something that I've seen in real life and
Yeah.
like the hardship of overcoming it. So it was just so sad. How about you?
Yeah. It was really sad. I think because it was such a like realistic backstory for like you said the present day, it made it even harder when I realized that like at the end where it was like she can't become human again, you know?
What a
And
letdown.
yeah, it was I think that was That was really good. Yeah.
Demi, would you take a chance at freedom even if it made you lose your humanity?
No, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard. It would depend on the situation. I think that like in the case of like for all of these characters, I could see maybe it's just because of like again being in present day, but I feel like yeah, I could see another way. You know, it's like Sabine, you don't have to kill the original Sabine. You could like be free and maybe not like immediately lose your humanity. Like maybe that would have been like a different life for her. Um, would I have chosen to be a vampire? The way that it's presented to all of them in the book, it's so seductive. I can understand like I understand why they all did it and I want them to. But it's kind of like would you sell your soul to the devil to get what you want? It's kind of the same thing to me.
Totally. Do you
Yeah.
think Maria slash Sabine, if she hadn't been a vampire, do you think she was capable of love? Like, if could she have kids and love those kids? Or do you think she would have been a menace of a parent?
I feel like would she have even had kids? Like I think she
Yeah.
would have like done anything to make sure she didn't. And I mean, yeah, she was befriending the apothecary person. Apothecary?
A apothecarist?
Yeah,
Oh,
the
apothecarian?
pharmacist. Um,
Pharmacist.
but yeah, I think that like seeing how she was once she became a vampire, I feel like she would have just, I don't know, maybe she would have grown. See, that's where I'm like, redemption. Maybe she would have grown and been less selfish. I don't know. But it's like, would she want to grow and embrace that? What do you think?
You have such a more like charitable viewpoint on people, I think, than I do. I think Maria Sabine, even if she wasn't a vampire, if you had put a knife in her hand, she would have used it.
Hmm.
Like she was someone who has was always going to do the wrong thing for her own goals and her own ambition. Vampirism was merely a tool for that. And like
Hmm.
it then like to your point, I think it's so good that it's like seductive and I was rooting for her in the beginning because she was like imprisoned by the like social norms of her society. But
Hmm.
very quickly, what she does transcends those social norms and goes into the evil, like pretty quickly, like into the realm of what is considered evil. So
Hmm.
I think she like was always going to do the wrong thing. Like no matter what, she was always going to do the wrong thing, and she did. I still think manipulating people is wrong to climb up the social hierarchy, especially if you know that what you want is not what they want. Like you should know that they want a child, ideally a son, and you don't want a child. Like it's just not a nice thing to do,
Yeah.
like manipulating people for your own ends. I don't think that's a nice thing. So like she was always she was always, yeah, I didn't, she's probably one of my least favorite characters I've ever read, but also really liked her because I disliked her.
Hmm.
Like it
Yeah,
was,
she was
yeah,
very interesting. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But
Yeah.
definitely so far of all the books we've read, she was like the biggest villain. Earl King or her? I don't know. Mm.
I feel like almost her because she had the possibility to choose something else. It's like being just like literally evil versus being someone who has a choice to not be evil.
I
Yeah.
agree.
Which
I
I think
agree.
makes her more evil. Yeah.
I agree. Let's end on a good note. Tell me one of your favorite scenes.
Okay. So I don't know if this would be a good note, but the one that stayed with me the most, I would say, is the moment when Maria kills Sabine. Because it's where it shifted from being a story where it's like maybe it can be like nice vampires, and then it was like oh my gosh, this it really just shifted everything for me, and so that scene was the one probably that stayed with me the most. Yeah, that
Yeah.
moment because you like lost all hope, at least for
Yeah.
me. Yeah.
I think that's a good scene. I would say for me, definitely that. Also, when Lottie comes in, I thought was just a really interesting twist. Wasn't expecting that. Just like also it was like Bridgerton, like the
Yeah.
ton, but but make it gothic. Um, I will say this book was very dark, but very good for Halloween.
Yeah, it's so good for Halloween. Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you say is your favorite scene? Like, what's the one that really stayed with you?
I think the subtle plot twist about Lottie's personhood really got me.
Yeah.
Where Alice is like when she's like, Lottie lied. It does, like
Yeah.
she lied. That means her whole story, this whole story that we just heard from her, is unreliable, has now been made suspect. And then you could start to kind of reconcile all the little things that I was like, wait, Lottie, that's not right. Maria's always been crazy. What do you mean she just became crazy? Like things like that. So I thought that scene was really good.
Yeah, it was. It was really good. Yeah. Well, I could talk to you about this for like literally like I guess all time since it's a book about eternity, except that we do not want that because we don't want to live forever. But thank you so much for
Yeah.
talking to me about this. For everyone listening, let us know what you think and if you disagree and you think that they could be saved and they can still be good and there's hope. Yeah, and your favorite characters and just everything. This book, I feel like there was so much to talk about. For next time, we are going to read something hopefully much lighter. I think it's much lighter because it's about, I believe, mermaids. So it's
Ooh.
Upon a Starlit Tide by Kel Woods. And we actually will be joined by the author for that episode. So if you want to, read the book and then actually you could send us questions. If you have any questions, feel free to send us questions and we'll add them to the interview. And yeah, we're so excited to share that with you. Thank you everyone for listening. We hope you enjoyed this book as much as we did, and we'll see you next time.